It was a busy morning at the airport. You know the kind, people running around, dragging bags, shouting at each other, and nobody really looking at anyone else. Everyone just wanted to get where they were going. The air smelled like coffee and airplane fuel, and the big screens flashed flight numbers in bright yellow letters. Into all this mess walked Mary Carter. She wasn't fast. She didn't rush. She shuffled along, step by step, her old shoes tapping softly on the shiny floor. Her gray hair peeked out from under a plain little hat, the kind your grandma might wear. Her coat was old too, with frayed edges and a couple of loose threads hanging off. It wasn't fancy or new, but it kept her warm. To everyone who saw her, Mary looked like just another old lady. Maybe she was slow. Maybe she was quiet. Maybe she needed help. That's what they thought, anyway. The plane was waiting, a big silver bird parked at the gate. People were already climbing aboard, pushing past each other to find their seats. Mary got in line, holding her small bag close. It wasn't heavy, but her hands shook a little as she gripped it. She didn't ask for help, though. She just kept moving, one slow step at a time. The flight attendant stood at the door, checking tickets. Her name was Jessica. She was young, with shiny blonde hair pulled back tight and a bright blue uniform that looked brand new. Jessica smiled at some people, the ones in nice suits or with big, expensive bags. But when Mary got to the front, Jessica didn't smile. She barely even looked. "Ticket," she said, her voice sharp, like she was annoyed. Mary handed it over, her fingers fumbling a bit. Jessica snatched it, glanced at it, and shoved it back. "Move along, ma'am," she snapped. Then she rolled her eyes, like Mary was some kind of problem. Mary didn't say anything. She just took her ticket and shuffled down the narrow aisle. Inside the plane, it was loud. People were talking, babies were crying, and overhead bins were slamming shut. Mary found her seat way in the back, by the window. She tried to lift her bag up to the shelf above, but it was tricky. Her arms weren't as strong as they used to be. She huffed a little, pushing the bag with both hands. Jessica walked by right then, carrying a clipboard and looking busy. Mary looked up, hoping for a hand. "Excuse me," she said softly. Jessica didn't stop. She didn't even turn her head. She just kept walking, her high heels clicking on the floor. "Move along," she muttered again, loud enough for Mary to hear. A couple of people nearby snickered. One guy in a baseball cap shook his head and went back to his phone. Mary stood there for a second, her bag still half on the shelf, half slipping down. Then she sighed, gave it one last push, and got it up there herself. She sat down, smoothing her coat over her lap. Her face didn't show much, no anger, no sadness. Just calm. But her eyes. Oh, her eyes were sharp. They watched everything. See, here's the thing about Mary. She wasn't what she seemed. To Jessica, to the other passengers, to everyone on that plane, she was just an old lady. Slow. Quiet. Maybe weak. That's what they saw when they looked at her shuffling walk and her worn-out coat. But Mary had a secret. A big one. A huge one. It wasn't written on her face or stitched into her hat. It wasn't something you could guess just by looking. No way. This secret was so giant, so wild, it could turn everything on this flight upside down. It could make jaws drop and eyes pop. It could change the whole day for every single person on that plane, especially Jessica. But Mary didn't say a word about it. Not yet. She just sat there, her hands folded in her lap, looking out the little window at the runway. The plane's engine started to hum, a low rumble that shook the seats. People settled in, buckling their seat belts with little clicks. Jessica strutted up and down the aisle, barking orders like she owned the place. "Sit down. Buckle up. Put your bags away," she said, her voice loud and bossy. Mary watched her, those sharp eyes following every move. The plane rolled forward, slow at first, then faster. Out the window, the airport buildings blurred by gray and white shapes streaked with color. Mary leaned her head against the glass, feeling the coolness on her cheek. She wasn't in a hurry. She didn't need to be. Whatever was coming, she knew it would happen when the time was right. For now, she was just another face in the crowd. Nobody special, nobody important, at least, that's what they thought. Jessica thought so too. She didn't have time for old ladies who couldn't lift their bags or buckle their belts fast enough. She had better things to do, like chatting with the rich guy in first class or fixing her lipstick in the tiny airplane mirror. She had no idea who she was dealing with. Not a clue. And that's what made this whole thing so exciting. Let's rewind a bit, just so you can picture it. Imagine you're there, on that plane. You see Mary shuffle in, her hat a little crooked, her bag dragging a bit. You see Jessica, all shiny and loud, brushing her off like she's nothing. Maybe you'd feel bad for Mary. Maybe you'd think, poor old lady, she's just trying to get to her seat. Or maybe you'd be too busy with your own stuff to care. That's how it was for most people on that flight. They didn't notice Mary much. She didn't stand out. She didn't yell or wave her arms or demand attention. She was quiet, like a shadow moving through the noise. But shadows can hide things, can't they? Big things. Important things. And Mary's shadow? It was hiding something huge. The plane lifted off now, wheels leaving the ground with a little bounce. Up, up it went, climbing into the sky. The clouds outside turned fluffy and white, like cotton balls stuck to the blue. Inside, the lights dimmed a bit, and the seatbelt sign dinged on. Jessica came over the speaker, her voice crackly but sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your belts on. We're going up. Don't move around yet. She sounded bored, like she'd said it a million times. She probably had. Mary listened, her head tilted just a little. She reached for her seat belt, her fingers brushing the metal buckle. It was tricky, those things always are. She pulled one side, then the other, trying to click it shut. Her hands shook again, just a tiny bit. She wasn't weak, not really, but she wasn't young anymore either. The belt wouldn't catch. She tugged harder, frowning now. Across the aisle, a kid watched her. He was maybe 10, with messy hair and a superhero shirt. Need help? He asked, his voice small but friendly. Mary smiled at him, a warm, real smile. Thank you, sweetie, she said. I'll get it. She kept trying, and after a few more tugs, it clicked. She leaned back, satisfied. The kid grinned and went back to his game. Jessica walked by again right then, her eyes flicking over Mary. She saw the struggle, saw the belt finally snap shut. Did she stop? Nope. Did she offer to help? Not a chance. She just huffed, like it annoyed her that Mary even existed. Hurry up next time, she muttered under her breath, loud enough for Mary to catch it. Mary didn't flinch. She didn't snap back. She just nodded, like she was agreeing. But those eyes, those sharp, knowing eyes, never stopped watching. By now, you're probably wondering, what's Mary's deal? Why didn't she say something? Why didn't she tell Jessica off for being so rude? Most people would. If someone snapped at you like that, you might snap back. Or at least grumble. But Mary didn't. She stayed calm, cool as a cucumber. That's because Mary wasn't like most people. She wasn't just an old lady with a shaky grip and a worn-out coat. She was something else, someone else. And Jessica? She was walking right into a trap she didn't even see coming. That's the fun of it, isn't it? When someone thinks they're so big and important, and then bam, they find out they're not the boss they thought they were. Mary knew that moment was coming. She could feel it, like the plane climbing higher into the sky. It wasn't time yet, but it would be soon. The flight stretched on, the hum of the engines filling the air. People started to relax. Some pulled out books. Others put on headphones. The kid across from Mary played his game, little beeps and boops coming from his screen. Jessica moved up front, laughing with another flight attendant about something silly. Mary heard her voice high and loud cutting through the noise. She didn't mind. She just sat there, her hands resting on her knees, her hat still on her head. She looked old, sure. She looked tired, maybe. But helpless. Not even close. That was the mistake everyone made. Jessica made it. The passengers made it. They saw what they wanted to see, an old lady who didn't matter. But Mary mattered. Oh, she mattered a lot. And her secret? It was like a bomb ticking quietly under her seat, ready to blow everything wide open. Let's think about Jessica for a second. She wasn't mean all the time, maybe. She smiled at the fancy passengers, the ones with shiny watches and big wallets. She brought them extra pillows and asked about their day. But Mary? Mary didn't look fancy. Her hat wasn't new. Her coat wasn't designer. So Jessica didn't care. She didn't think Mary was worth her time. That's how she worked nice to the people she thought were important, cold to the ones she didn't. She didn't know it yet, but that was her big mistake. The biggest. Because Mary wasn't just worth her time, she was worth way more than Jessica could ever guess. Outside, the sky turned golden as the sun started to dip. The plane cut through the clouds, steady and smooth. Mary looked out her window again, watching the light bounce off the wings. She liked flying. Always had. It made her feel big, even when everyone else thought she was small. She shifted in her seat, adjusting her coat. Her bag sat above her, safe now. She'd gotten it up there herself, no thanks to Jessica. That was fine. Mary was used to doing things herself. She'd been doing it for years, longer than Jessica had even been alive. That's part of what made her secret so wild. It wasn't just about who she was now. It was about everything she'd done, everything she'd built. And nobody on this plane had a clue. The air inside got a little stuffy. Someone coughed. A baby fussed a few rows up. Jessica's voice came over the speaker again. "We're cruising now. Relax, but keep those belts on." She sounded like she was reading a script, her words flat. Mary listened, her head resting back. She didn't need to relax. She was already calm. She was ready. Whatever was coming, she'd been waiting for it. Not in a nervous way, like when you're scared of a test. In a quiet way, like when you know you've got a surprise party planned and nobody suspects a thing. That's how Mary felt. Like she was holding the best surprise ever, and it was almost time to let it out. So there she was, Mary Carter, the old lady in the back. The one Jessica snapped at. The one nobody helped. The one everybody thought was just ordinary. But ordinary people don't have secrets like hers. Ordinary people don't sit there, quiet and calm, while the world spins around them, waiting for the perfect moment to turn it all upside down. Mary wasn't ordinary. Not even a little. And Jessica? She was about to find that out the hard way. The plane kept flying, steady in the sky. The passengers kept chatting or sleeping or staring at their screens. Everything seemed normal. But it wasn't. Not with Mary on board. Not with what she knew, what she could do. The flight was just beginning, and already, something big was brewing. Something nobody saw coming except Mary. She saw it. She knew it. And she was ready. What do you think so far? That's Mary, slow, quiet, but hiding something huge. And Jessica? She's got no idea what's about to hit her. The airport was busy that morning, sure, but this flight. It was about to get a whole lot busier. Stick around, because Mary's secret is coming, and when it does, it's going to shake everything up. Setting the conflict and tension. Jessica was the kind of flight attendant who acted like she was the boss of everything. She didn't just work on the plane, she thought she owned it. Her shiny blonde hair was pulled back tight, and her blue uniform looked perfect, like it was ironed 10 times. She stood tall, her shoulders back, and her voice was loud when she told people what to do. Sit down, she'd snap. Put your bag up, she'd bark. It wasn't a nice voice, either. It was sharp, like a teacher yelling at a kid who forgot their homework. And her smiles. Oh, they weren't real. She'd flash them quick, showing her teeth, but her eyes stayed cold. You could tell she didn't mean it. To Jessica, helping people wasn't part of her job. It was a big, annoying favor she didn't want to do. She'd rather fix her lipstick or chat with the cool passengers than lift a finger for anyone else. The plane was in the air now, humming along high above the clouds. Everyone was settled in their seats, some looking out the windows, some playing with their phones. Mary Carter sat near the back, her gray hair still tucked under her little hat. She looked small in her big seat, her old coat spread over her lap like a blanket. Her hands weren't steady, they shook a little, like leaves in the wind. She reached down to her seat belt, the one she'd finally clicked shut earlier. But now, it felt loose. She tugged at it, trying to tighten it up. Her fingers fumbled with the buckle, slipping off the metal. It was hard for her. She wasn't weak, not really, but her hands didn't work as fast as they used to. She looked up, her sharp eyes scanning the aisle. Jessica was right there, walking by with her clipboard, her heels clicking loud on the floor. "Excuse me," Mary said, her voice soft but clear. "Can you help me with this?" She held up the seat belt, showing the buckle that wouldn't stay tight. Jessica stopped, but she didn't look happy. Her lips twisted into a little frown, and she let out a big, loud sigh like helping Mary was the worst thing in the world. "Figure it out, lady," she said, her words sharp and mean. She didn't even try to hide how annoyed she was. Then she turned away, her hair flipping behind her, and marched off down the aisle. She didn't look back. She didn't care. She headed straight for first class, where a fancy businessman sat in a big seat. He had a shiny watch and a suit that looked expensive. Jessica smiled at him, her fake smile again, and started talking, her voice all sweet now. "Can I get you anything, sir?" she asked him, like he was the most important person ever. Back in her seat, Mary didn't say a word. She didn't yell or cry or wave her arms. She just sat there, her hands still on the seat belt. Her lips were pressed tight together, like she was biting back something she wanted to say. Her face stayed calm, though. No frowns, no tears, just calm. But if you looked close, really close, you could see something else. Her eyes weren't soft anymore. They were hard, like little rocks, watching Jessica strut away. You could almost feel it. The air around Mary felt heavy, like a storm was coming. Not a loud storm with thunder and lightning, but a quiet one, the kind that sneaks up and surprises you. What was she thinking? Oh, it was something big. Something huge. Jessica didn't know it yet, but she'd just poked a bear that wasn't going to stay quiet forever. The other passengers saw it happen. A few of them whispered to each other, their voices low so Jessica wouldn't hear. "That was rude," a lady with glasses muttered to her husband. He nodded, his eyebrows up high. "She didn't have to be so mean," he whispered back. A guy in a red hat shook his head, his lips making a little frown. The kid across from Mary, the one with the superhero shirt, looked over at her. "She's not nice," he said quietly, his game forgotten for a second. Mary heard him. She turned her head and gave him a tiny smile, like she was saying, "Don't worry, I'm okay." But nobody said anything loud. Nobody stood up or called Jessica out. They just watched, their eyes flicking between Mary and the flight attendant who'd brushed her off. They felt bad, maybe, but they didn't do anything. That's how it goes sometimes. People see something wrong, but they stay quiet. Jessica didn't notice the whispers. She was too busy up front, laughing with the businessman. Her voice floated back, high and fake, talking about nothing important. "Oh, you're so funny," she said, giggling like he'd told the best joke ever. Mary heard it all. She didn't move, didn't flinch. She just sat there, her hands now resting in her lap. The seat belt was still a little loose, but she'd stopped messing with it. It didn't matter anymore. What mattered was what was happening inside her head. You couldn't see it, but it was there, a plan, a spark, something brewing. She wasn't mad, not in the way people usually get mad. She wasn't going to yell or stomp her feet. That wasn't Mary's style. Her way was quieter, sneakier, and way more powerful. Jessica had no idea what she'd just started. The plane kept flying, steady and smooth. Outside, the clouds rolled by, big and fluffy against the blue sky. Inside, it was warm, a little stuffy. The engines hummed, a low sound that made the seats buzz just a tiny bit. People started to relax. A lady pulled out a book. A man put on headphones. The kid went back to his game, his fingers tapping fast. But the air around Mary? It didn't feel relaxed. It felt tight, like a rubber band stretched too far. Something was going to snap, you could sense it. Jessica had been rude before, back when Mary got on the plane. She'd snapped at her about the bag, told her to move along. But this was worse. This was personal. Mary had asked for help, something small, something easy. And Jessica didn't just say no, she made it clear she thought Mary was nothing. A nobody. That was her mistake. A big one. Let's think about Jessica for a minute. She wasn't always mean, not to everyone. Up in first class, she was all smiles and sugar. She brought the businessman a drink without him even asking. She fluffed his pillow and asked if he was comfy. To her, he mattered. He looked rich, important. His suit was sharp, his watch gleamed under the plane's lights. Jessica liked people like that, people she thought were big deals. But Mary? Mary didn't look like a big deal. Her hat was old. Her coat was worn. Her hands shook. So Jessica didn't care. She didn't see Mary as someone worth helping. She saw her as a bother, a problem, something to brush off. That's how Jessica worked. She picked who she wanted to be nice to, and Mary didn't make the list. Oh, if she only knew. If she only had a tiny hint of what was coming. Mary didn't need Jessica's help, not really. She could have figured out the seatbelt herself, just like she'd gotten her bag up earlier. She was tough, tougher than she looked. But she'd asked anyway, maybe to see what Jessica would do, maybe to test her. And Jessica failed. Big time. Mary's lips stayed tight, her face stayed calm, but inside, she was keeping score. Every word, every sigh, every eye roll from Jessica, it was all going into Mary's head, stacking up like blocks. She wasn't the kind of person who forgets. She wasn't the kind who lets things slide. Not when they're this mean, this rude. Jessica thought she was in charge, strutting around like a queen. But queens can fall, can't they? And Mary knew how to make that happen. The plane hit a little bump, turbulence, they call it. The lights flickered, and a few people gasped. Jessica's voice came over the speaker fast. Just a little bump, folks. Stay seated, she said, sounding annoyed again. Mary didn't jump. She didn't gasp. She just sat there, steady as a rock. The bump didn't scare her. Jessica didn't scare her either. Nothing did. That's what made her different. Most people would have been mad by now, or sad, or embarrassed. Most people would have said something back when Jessica snapped at them. But Mary? She was like a cat waiting by a mouse hole, quiet, still, ready to pounce when the time was right. And the time was getting closer. You could feel it in the air, in the way her eyes followed Jessica, in the way her hands stayed so still. The passengers kept watching, sneaky-like. They didn't want Jessica to catch them staring. The lady with glasses whispered again, she shouldn't talk to people like that. Her husband nodded. She's got an attitude, he said. The guy in the red hat leaned over to the person next to him. That old lady didn't do anything wrong, he mumbled. They all agreed Jessica was out of line. But still, nobody spoke up. They didn't want trouble. They didn't want Jessica turning her sharp voice on them. So they stayed quiet, their eyes darting back to Mary. She didn't look at them. She didn't need to. She knew they were there, knew they saw. That was enough for now. Up front, Jessica laughed again, loud and fake. She was still with the businessman, leaning over his seat, chatting away. Oh, you've been on so many flights, she said, like it was the most amazing thing ever. He grinned, liking the attention. Jessica liked giving it to him, at least. She didn't care about the back of the plane, about Mary, or the kid, or anyone else. She thought she had it all figured out, who mattered, who didn't. She thought she was smart, running the show. But she wasn't smart. Not about this. She didn't see the storm coming. She didn't see Mary watching, waiting, planning. She didn't see the trap she was walking into, step by step, with every mean word she threw out. The plane settled after the bump, the ride smooth again. The clouds outside glowed pink now the sun was setting, painting the sky pretty colors. Mary glanced out her window, just for a second. She liked the view. It was peaceful, even if nothing else was. She turned back, her eyes locking on Jessica again. That sharp look was still there, cutting through the dim light of the cabin. Jessica didn't feel it. She didn't know. She kept talking, kept laughing, kept acting like she was the queen of the plane. But queens don't last forever. Not when someone's got a secret, a big, wild secret that's about to come out. Mary had that secret. And Jessica? She was in for a surprise. A huge one. She just didn't know it yet. Rising action and small revelations. The flight kept going, high up in the sky. The plane hummed along, a big silver bird cutting through the clouds. Inside, things were busy. People talked, some slept, and the air smelled like snacks and coffee. Jessica, the flight attendant, didn't slow down with her attitude. She strutted up and down the aisle, her shiny shoes clicking loud on the floor. Her blonde hair stayed perfect, pulled back tight, and her blue uniform looked crisp, like she wanted everyone to notice her. She acted like she was the boss, the queen of the plane. But her attitude? Oh, it was bad. Really bad. She didn't care who saw it, either. She thought she could do whatever she wanted, and nobody would stop her. Up front, a kid sat with his mom. He was little, maybe 6 or 7, with a red shirt and a big smile. Jessica came by with a tray of drinks, coffee, water, juice. She wasn't paying attention, though. She was talking to another flight attendant, laughing about something silly. The tray tipped, just a little, and splash, hot coffee spilled right onto the kid's lap. He yelped, jumping in his seat. "Ow," he cried, his eyes big and scared. His mom gasped and grabbed napkins, wiping at his pants fast. "Oh no, honey, are you okay?" she asked, her voice worried. Jessica stopped laughing. She turned around, her lips twisting into a frown. "Hey, kid, watch it," she snapped. "You made me spill that." The kid blinked, tears in his eyes. "I didn't do anything," he said, his voice small. Jessica didn't care. She rolled her eyes and waved her hand like it was no big deal. "Just clean it up," she said, then walked off, leaving the mom and kid staring after her. A few rows back, another lady raised her hand. She was a mom too, with a baby asleep in her lap. The plane was chilly, and she shivered under her thin sweater. "Excuse me," she called to Jessica. "Can we have a blanket, please?" Her voice was nice, soft, not loud or rude. Jessica heard her. She had to, she was right there. But she didn't stop. She didn't even look. She kept walking, her head high, like the mom didn't exist. The lady waited, her hand still up, but Jessica was gone, off to the front again. The mom sighed, pulling her baby closer to keep him warm. "Guess we don't get one," she muttered to herself, shaking her head. People nearby saw it. They frowned, some whispering to each other. "She's so mean," one said. "Why won't she help?" said another. But Jessica didn't notice. She didn't care. Then there was Mary. Mary Carter, the old lady in the back. She sat by her window, her gray hair tucked under her hat, her coat over her lap. She didn't say much, didn't move much. But she watched. Oh, she watched everything. Every time Jessica walked by, Mary's sharp eyes followed her. Sometimes, Mary raised her hand just a little, not high or fast. Maybe she wanted water. Maybe she needed something small. Or maybe she was testing Jessica. Seeing what she'd do. Every time, Jessica saw her. You could tell she'd glance at Mary, her eyes flicking over quick. But she never stopped. She'd turn her head, pretend she didn't see, and keep going. Once, she even huffed, a little puff of air like Mary was annoying her. Mary didn't call out. She didn't yell, "Hey, help me." She just lowered her hand, slow and calm, and went back to watching. But Mary wasn't helpless. Not even a little. She wasn't some old lady who couldn't do anything. No way. After Jessica ignored her again, maybe the third time, maybe the fourth, Mary reached into her bag. It was a small bag, old like her coat, with a zipper that stuck a bit. She tugged it open, her shaky hands careful but sure. Out came a notebook. A tiny one, with a black cover and pages that looked worn. She set it on her lap and pulled a pen from her pocket, a little stubby pen, the kind you get free at the bank. She clicked it open and started writing. Scribbling, really. Her hand moved fast, scratching little words onto the paper. Names. Times. Things she saw. Jessica 10:15 spilled coffee on kid, she wrote. 10:20 ignored mom with baby. She kept going, her pen moving quick, her eyes darting up to check on Jessica, then back down to the page. A man sat next to her. He was older too, with a gray beard and a green jacket. He'd been quiet the whole flight, reading a magazine about cars. But now, he peeked over. He couldn't help it. Mary's scribbling caught his eye. He leaned a little closer, squinting at the notebook. "What's that for?" he whispered, his voice low so nobody else would hear. Mary didn't jump. She didn't hide the notebook or snap it shut. She just kept writing, her pen scratching away. Then she looked at him, her sharp eyes meeting his. A tiny smile crept onto her face, not big, not loud, just a little curve of her lips. "Oh, you'll see," she said, her voice soft but strong. The man blinked, surprised. He didn't know what to say. Okay," he mumbled, leaning back in his seat. He went back to his magazine, but he kept glancing at Mary, like he knew something weird was up. The plane hummed along, steady in the sky. Outside, the clouds were turning gold and pink, the sun was setting, making everything pretty. Inside, though, things were shifting. You could feel it. Jessica kept up her act, laughing loud up front. Her sharp laugh bounced off the walls, cutting through the hum of the engines. She was with that fancy businessman again, the one with the shiny watch. "Oh, you're so funny," she said, her voice all fake and sweet. She didn't care about the kid with the wet pants or the mom with the cold baby. She didn't care about Mary raising her hand. She thought she was on top, the queen of the plane, and nobody could touch her. But she was wrong. So wrong. The clock was ticking, tick, 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 counting down on her little power trip. She didn't hear it. She didn't feel it. But Mary did. Mary's notebook filled up fast. Page after page, she wrote down everything. Every mean thing Jessica did, every time she ignored someone, every fake smile she flashed. It wasn't messy, her writing was small and neat, like she'd done this before. She didn't miss a thing. 10:25 walked past old lady again, she scribbled. 10:30 laughed with man in suit. Her pen never stopped. Her eyes never softened. She wasn't mad, not in a loud way, anyway. She wasn't yelling or slamming her fist. But she was doing something. Something big. That notebook wasn't just paper and ink. It was a plan. A list. A weapon. Jessica didn't know it, but every time she snapped at someone or rolled her eyes, Mary was building something, a trap, maybe, or a bomb ready to go off. The kid with the coffee spill wiped at his pants, his mom still fussing over him. "It's okay," she said, patting his back. "It'll dry." He nodded, but his face was red, embarrassed. The mom with the baby rocked her little one, humming soft to keep him asleep. She didn't have a blanket, but she made do, wrapping her sweater around him. People saw it all. They whispered more, their voices buzzing like bees. "She's awful," a lady in a purple shirt said. "Why's she so rude?" a guy with glasses asked. They didn't like Jessica, not one bit. But they didn't say it loud. They didn't want her to hear. She was too busy laughing, too busy acting big. She didn't see the looks, didn't hear the whispers. She didn't know the plane was turning against her, little by little. Mary kept writing. Her pen scratched and scratched, filling the notebook with tiny words. The man next to her peeked again, his magazine forgotten. "You're keeping track of her, huh?" he whispered, nodding toward Jessica. Mary didn't look up this time. She just nodded, a quick little dip of her head. "Yep," she said, her voice calm. "Everything." The man raised his eyebrows, surprised again. "Wow," he said. "That's a lot." He didn't ask more, though. He could tell Mary wasn't going to spill her secrets, not yet. He went back to his seat, but his eyes stayed curious, darting to her notebook every few minutes. What was she up to? He didn't know. Nobody did. But it was something. The plane hit a little bump, turbulence again. The lights blinked, and a few people gasped. Jessica's voice crackled over the speaker. "Just a bump, folks. Stay in your seats," she said, sounding annoyed, like it was their fault. Mary didn't flinch. She didn't stop writing. Her pen kept going, steady as ever. 10:35 plane bumped, Jessica snapped, she added to her list. She wasn't scared of the turbulence. She wasn't scared of Jessica, either. She was too busy, too focused. That notebook was her power, her proof. Every scribble was a step closer to something big, something Jessica wouldn't see coming. Up front, Jessica's laugh rang out again. Sharp, loud, fake. She leaned over the businessman's seat, chatting away. "Oh, you're so smart," she said, giggling. He grinned, eating it up. She liked his fancy suit, his shiny watch. She didn't like the kid or the mom or Mary. They weren't important to her. They didn't matter. But they mattered to Mary. Every single one of them. She wrote their stories in her notebook, to not just Jessica's mean moments, but the people she hurt. The kid with the coffee. The mom with no blanket. Herself, ignored again and again. It was all there, in black ink, waiting. The air in the plane felt different now. Thicker, heavier. People were tired of Jessica. They didn't say it out loud, not yet, but you could see it in their faces. The whispers got a little louder, the frowns a little deeper. Something was shifting, like the plane tilting in the sky. Mary felt it. She knew it. Her sharp eyes missed nothing. She closed her notebook for a second, just to rest her hand. She flexed her fingers, then opened it again and kept going. 10:40 Jessica still with fancy man, she wrote. She wasn't done. Not even close. Jessica's power trip was still rolling, but it wasn't going to last. The clock kept ticking, tick, 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 and Mary kept writing. Jessica had no clue. No clue at all. But she would. Soon. The plane was halfway through the flight, soaring high above the clouds. Everything seemed normal. People were chatting, some were napping, and the engines hummed a steady tune. Jessica, the flight attendant, was up front, holding a tray of drinks. She was laughing with that fancy businessman again, her voice loud and fake. Her blonde hair shone under the lights, and her blue uniform looked perfect, like always. She thought she was in charge, the queen of the plane, and nobody could tell her otherwise. The tray wobbled a little as she giggled, but she didn't care. She was too busy acting big, too busy showing off. Then crackle, the speaker came on. The captain's voice broke through the noise, a little shaky but clear. Folks," he said, "we've got a special guest on board today. Please give a warm welcome to Mary Carter." The whole cabin went quiet. Dead quiet. You could hear a pin drop. People stopped talking. The kid with the superhero shirt stopped playing his game. The mom with the baby stopped humming. Even the whispers, those little buzzes about Jessica being rude, stopped cold. Everyone turned their heads, looking around. Who was Mary Carter? What was going on? Jessica froze right where she stood. Her tray of drinks shook in her hands, the cups rattling loud in the silence. Her fake smile dropped, and her eyes got wide, like she'd seen a ghost. She was mid-sentence, saying something silly to the businessman, but the words stuck in her throat. She didn't move. She didn't laugh. She just stood there, her tray wobbling more and more. Back in her seat, Mary Carter moved. She'd been sitting still the whole flight, her gray hair under her hat, her old coat over her lap. Nobody paid her much attention, just another old lady, slow and quiet. But now, she stood up. It wasn't fast. She didn't jump or rush. She pushed herself up slow, her hands on the armrests, steady and sure. Her shaky fingers. Gone. Her weak look. Nowhere to be seen. She stood tall, not tall like Jessica, but tall in a different way. Strong. Like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Her coat slipped off her lap, falling to the seat, and her hat tilted a little, showing more of her gray hair. She didn't look shaky now. She didn't look helpless. She looked like someone who owned the place. Because she did. The passengers stared. Their mouths hung open, their eyes big. The man next to Mary, the one with the gray beard and green jacket, dropped his magazine. It hit the floor with a soft thud, but he didn't pick it up. He just watched, his eyebrows way up high. The kid across the aisle blinked fast, like he couldn't believe it. The lady with glasses a few rows up leaned forward, squinting to see better. Everyone was looking at Mary now. Jessica too. Her tray wobbled so much a cup tipped over, spilling water onto the floor. She didn't notice. Her face was turning white as a ghost, white as the clouds outside. She didn't know what was happening, but she knew it wasn't good. Mary stepped into the aisle. Her old shoes tapped soft on the floor, but every tap felt loud in the quiet. She turned to face everyone, her sharp eyes scanning the cabin. Then she spoke. "I'm Mary Carter," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was clear, strong and steady, like a bell ringing. And I built this airline from nothing. The words hung in the air, heavy and big. People gasped, little breath sucking in all at once. The kid's mom clapped a hand over her mouth. The guy in the red hat sat up straight, his eyes popping. Jessica's tray slipped more, but she caught it just in time, her hands shaking now. Mary kept going. I wanted to see how my crew treats people when they think no one's watching, she said. Her eyes locked on Jessica, sharp as knives. Jessica, let's talk. The cabin exploded, not with noise, but with shock. People's jaws dropped lower. The gasps turned into whispers, fast and wild. She owns the airline, the lady with glasses hissed to her husband. No way, he whispered back. The kid grinned, tugging his mom's sleeve. She's the boss, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The man next to Mary rubbed his beard, muttering, I knew something was up. The mom with the baby stared, her mouth a big O. Jessica? She didn't move. She couldn't. Her face was so white it looked like chalk, and her eyes were huge, darting around like she wanted to run. But there was nowhere to go. She was caught big time, and there was no wiggling out of this one. Mary stood there, calm and strong. She didn't yell. She didn't point or wave her arms. She didn't need to. Her words were enough. They hit like a hammer, smashing Jessica's little power trip to bits. Jessica's tray shook harder, and another cup tipped, juice splashing on her perfect shoes. She didn't even flinch. She was too stunned, too scared. All her laughing, all her snapping, all her fake smiles, they were gone. Poof. Just like that. She'd been mean to the kid with the coffee. She'd ignored the mom with the baby. She'd snapped at Mary, told her to figure it out, walked away like Mary was nothing. And now? Now she knew. Mary wasn't nothing. Mary was everything. Mary was the boss, the real boss. The passengers couldn't stop staring. They leaned forward in their seats, craning their necks to see. The kid bounced a little, excited. She's gonna get it, he whispered to his mom. The mom nodded, her eyes wide. The guy in the red hat smirked, crossing his arms. About time, he muttered. The lady with glasses whispered again, she built the airline? From nothing. Her husband shrugged, amazed. Guess so. The man next to Mary picked up his magazine, but he didn't read it, he just held it, watching her like she was a superhero. And in a way, she was. She'd been quiet the whole flight, watching, waiting. Now she was standing tall, and everyone knew who she really was. Jessica tried to talk. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. I didn't, she stammered, her voice wobbly. She sounded small now, not loud or sharp like before. Her tray clattered as she set it down fast on a seat, her hands too shaky to hold it. I didn't know, she said, louder this time, but it didn't help. Mary tilted her head, just a little. That's the point, she said, her voice still calm. You didn't know. But you should have cared anyway. Jessica blinked fast, like she might cry. Her perfect uniform didn't look so perfect now. Juice stained her shoes, and her hair was slipping out of its tight bun. She wasn't the queen anymore. She was just a girl who'd messed up, and everyone could see it. The captain's voice came back on, crackling again. Yeah, folks, that's Mary Carter, he said, sounding nervous. She's, the big boss. Let's clap for her. A few people clapped slow at first, then faster. The kid clapped loud, grinning big. The mom with the baby joined in, her hands soft so she wouldn't wake her little one. The guy in the red hat clapped too, nodding like he approved. Soon, the whole plane was clapping, a big wave of sound rolling from front to back. Mary didn't smile big or wave. She just nodded, a tiny dip of her head, like she was saying thank you. But her eyes stayed on Jessica, steady and strong. Jessica backed up a step, then another. Her tray sat forgotten on the seat, cups rolling off onto the floor. I'm sorry, she said, her voice cracking. I didn't mean, but Mary cut her off, not loud, not mean, just firm. We'll talk, she said again. Not here. Later. Jessica swallowed hard, her throat bobbing. She knew what that meant. It wasn't good. Not for her. The passengers watched, their claps fading out. They didn't feel bad for Jessica, not after the coffee, the blanket, the way she'd snapped at Mary. They felt good for Mary. She'd been quiet, she'd been ignored, and now she was the star. The big reveal had hit, and it hit hard. The plane hummed along, steady as ever. Outside, the sky was dark now, stars peeking through the black. Inside, the lights were bright, shining on Mary as she stood there. She didn't look old or slow anymore. She looked powerful, like someone who could build an airline from nothing, just like she said. Jessica had been caught, her mean streak laid bare for everyone to see. There was no hiding now, no laughing it off. Mary's secret was out, and it changed everything. The cabin buzzed with whispers again, but they weren't mad whispers, they were excited ones. She's the boss. She tricked her. Jessica's in trouble now. The kid giggled, tugging his mom again. She's cool, he said. His mom smiled. Yeah, she is. Mary stayed in the aisle a moment longer, letting everyone look. Then she sat down, slow and careful, pulling her coat back over her lap. She didn't need to say more, her words had done the job. Jessica stood up front, her hands twisting together, her face still white. She didn't laugh now. She didn't strut. She just stood there, small and quiet, like she'd shrunk. The businessman she'd been chatting with looked away, pretending he didn't know her. The tray on the seat dripped juice onto the carpet, a little puddle growing. Nobody cared about that. They cared about Mary, the old lady who wasn't just an old lady. The one who turned the whole flight upside down with one big, wild truth. The clapping stopped, but the energy didn't. People kept whispering, kept staring. Mary was the hero now, and Jessica? She was the one in trouble. Big trouble. The reveal was done, but the story wasn't over. Not yet. Jessica had messed up, and Mary had caught her. There was no wiggling out of this one, no way, no how. The plane flew on, and the clock kept ticking. What would happen next? Everyone wanted to know. Everyone but Jessica. She already knew it wouldn't be good. Here's the continuation of the climax and big reveal section, building on the previous content and extending it to reach a total of 5,000 words. I'll keep using very simple English vocabulary suitable for 4th to 6th graders, maintaining the suspense and excitement while furthering the story. This picks up right where the last part left off, with Mary having just revealed she owns the airline and Jessica caught in her mistake. The plane kept flying, high in the dark sky. The stars twinkled outside, little dots of light against the black. Inside, the cabin was buzzing, not loud, not crazy, but alive. People couldn't stop looking at Mary. She sat back in her seat now, her old coat pulled over her lap again, her hat still on her head. She looked calm, like nothing big had just happened. But it had. Oh, it had. She'd dropped a bomb, a huge, wild truth, and it blew everything up. Jessica stood up front, her hands twisted together, her face white as snow. She wasn't laughing anymore. She wasn't snapping orders or flashing fake smiles. She was small now, quiet, like a kid who got caught sneaking cookies. The tray she'd dropped sat on a seat, juice dripping onto the floor, making a sticky mess. Nobody cared about that. They cared about Mary. The passengers kept whispering, their voices soft but fast. She's the boss, a lady in a purple shirt said, her eyes wide. The real boss, the guy next to her answered, nodding quick. The kid with the superhero shirt turned to his mom again. She tricked Jessica good, he said, grinning big. His mom laughed a little, patting his head. She sure did, she said. The man next to Mary, the one with the gray beard and green jacket, picked up his magazine off the floor. He didn't open it, though. He just held it, staring at Mary like she was a puzzle he couldn't figure out. You really own this airline? He asked, his voice low. Mary turned to him, her sharp eyes soft for a second. Yep, she said, simple and sure. Built it from nothing. He whistled, a long, slow sound. Wow, he said. That's something. Up front, Jessica didn't know what to do. Her hands shook a little, and her perfect hair was falling loose, strands sticking out messy. She looked around, like she wanted someone to help her. But nobody did. The fancy businessman she'd been laughing with turned his head, staring out his window like he didn't know her. He didn't want trouble. Nobody did except Jessica was already in it. Deep. She opened her mouth again, trying to talk. I didn't mean it, she said, her voice wobbly and weak. I didn't know who you were. She looked at Mary, her eyes big and scared. Mary didn't stand up again. She didn't need to. She just looked back, her face calm but strong. That's why I did this, she said. To see how you act when you don't know. Jessica blinked fast, like she might cry. But I'm sorry, she said, louder now. Her voice cracked, and a few people turned to look. The kid's mom frowned, shaking her head. Too late for sorry, she muttered. The guy in the red hat nodded, his arms still crossed. Yep, he said. She's done. The lady with glasses whispered to her husband, she was so rude. She deserves this. Her husband shrugged. Guess you don't mess with the boss, he said. They all agreed Jessica had been mean, and now she was paying for it. Mary didn't say more, not yet. She just sat there, letting Jessica squirm. It was like a game, and Mary was winning. The plane hit a little bump turbulence again. The lights flickered, and a few people grabbed their armrests. Whoa, the kid said, laughing. Jessica's voice came over the speaker fast. Just a bump, folks. Stay seated, she said, but she didn't sound bossy now. She sounded nervous, like she was trying to hold it together. The tray on the seat slid a little, more juice spilling out. She didn't pick it up. She couldn't. Her hands were too busy twisting together, her fingers all knotted up. She looked back at Mary, then away, then back again. She didn't know what to do. She'd been caught big time and there was no way out. Mary reached into her bag again. That old bag, with the sticky zipper. She pulled out her notebook, the little black one she'd been writing in. She flipped it open, her shaky hands steady now. She clicked her stubby pen and started reading, her eyes scanning the pages. The man next to her peeked over, curious. What's that? He asked. Mary didn't hide it. She held it up a little, showing him the tiny words. Everything Jessica did, she said. Every time she was mean. The man's eyes got wide. You wrote it all down, he asked. Mary nodded. Yep. Names. Times. All of it. She turned a page, pointing with her pen. Spilled coffee on a kid. Ignored a mom with a baby. Snapped at me. She looked up at Jessica, her voice steady. I saw it all. Jessica heard her. Her head snapped up, her white face turning red now. That's not fair, she said, her voice loud but shaky. I didn't know you were watching. Mary tilted her head, just a little. That's the point, she said again. You should be nice anyway. Not just when someone's watching. The passengers nodded, some clapping again, soft claps, like they agreed. The kid's mom smiled. She's right, she said. The guy in the red hat clapped louder. Good one, lady, he called. Jessica's mouth opened, then closed. She didn't have an answer. She didn't have anything. Mary had her trapped, and everyone knew it. The captain came out then. He was a big guy with a gray mustache, wearing a dark uniform with gold stripes. He stepped into the aisle, looking nervous. Mary, he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. You okay back there? Mary nodded. I'm fine, Tom, she said, like she knew him. He worked for her, after all. The captain scratched his head, then looked at Jessica. You, better come with me, he said. Jessica's eyes got bigger. What? She squeaked. Now. The captain nodded. Yeah. Now. He didn't sound mad, just firm. Jessica swallowed hard, her throat bobbing again. She didn't want to go, but she had to. She took a step, then another, her shoe sticky with juice. The passengers watched her go. Nobody said bye. Nobody waved. They just watched, their eyes following her down the aisle. The kid stuck out his tongue, quick and sneaky, then grinned. His mom shushed him, but she smiled too. The lady with glasses whispered, she's in big trouble now. Her husband nodded. Biggest, he said. The man next to Mary leaned over again. You planned this, didn't you? He asked. Mary smiled just a little, not big. Maybe, she said. He laughed, a short, happy sound. You're something else, he said. Mary didn't answer. She didn't need to. She'd already said enough. Jessica followed the captain to the front, her head down. Her perfect uniform didn't look perfect anymore. Wet shoes, messy hair, hands all shaky. She wasn't the queen now. She was just a girl who'd messed up, and everyone saw it. The cabin stayed quiet for a minute, then the whispers started again. She owns the airline. She tricked her good. Jessica's toast. They couldn't stop talking about it. Mary put her notebook away, tucking it back in her bag. She didn't need it now. Everyone knew what she'd seen, what she'd done. She leaned back in her seat, looking out the window at the stars. She looked calm, but strong. Like someone who'd won. The plane kept flying, steady and smooth. The lights stayed bright, shining on Mary's gray hair, her old hat. She didn't look shaky anymore. She didn't look weak. She looked like the boss, the real boss. Jessica was gone now, off with the captain, probably getting a big talk. The passengers didn't care about her anymore. They cared about Mary. The old lady who'd fooled them all. The one who'd built an airline from nothing. The one who'd caught Jessica in her own game. The reveal was big, wild, and it wasn't over yet. Something else was coming. Everyone could feel it. Mary wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The kid turned to his mom again. She's like a superhero, he said, his eyes bright. His mom nodded. Yeah, she is, she said. The guy in the red hat leaned back, smiling. Best flight ever, he said. The lady with glasses clapped her hands, soft and quick. She showed her, she said. Her husband grinned. Yep. Showed her good. The man next to Mary shook his head, still amazed. From nothing, he muttered. She built this from nothing. Mary heard them all, but she didn't say anything. She just sat there, quiet and strong, letting the moment sink in. The plane hummed on, the stars shining outside. The cabin buzzed with excitement, with shock, with wonder. Mary Carter wasn't just an old lady anymore. She was the boss, the big, real boss, and she'd turned everything upside down. Jessica was caught, her mean ways out in the open. There was no wiggling out, no hiding now. The clock kept ticking, and the story kept going. What would happen next? Nobody knew except Mary. She knew. And she was ready. Resolution and justice served. The plane was still flying, high in the dark sky, when everything went down. Jessica stood up front, her hands shaking, her face white, then red, then white again. She'd just heard Mary Carter say who she really was, the big boss who built the airline from nothing. Jessica's tray of drinks was a mess on a seat, juice dripping everywhere, but she didn't care about that now. She cared about Mary's words, sharp and strong, cutting through the air. Jessica opened her mouth, trying to talk. I didn't mean it, she stammered, her voice all wobbly. I didn't know you were the boss. I can do better. She twisted her hands together, her perfect blonde hair falling loose, her blue uniform looking sloppy with juice stains on her shoes. She was begging now, trying to explain herself, but it didn't sound good. It sounded like excuses. Mary sat in her seat near the back, her old coat over her lap, her gray hair peeking out from her hat. She didn't stand up again, she didn't need to. She looked at Jessica, her sharp eyes steady and calm. I've seen enough, she said, her voice clear, not loud, but strong like a teacher who means business. You don't treat people like they're nothing, not on my plane. Her words hit hard, like a slap. Jessica's mouth opened again, but nothing came out. She blinked fast, her eyes shiny like she might cry. Mary didn't budge. She didn't yell or point or make a big fuss. She just sat there, letting her words do the work. And they did. They shut Jessica down, right then and there. The passengers watched it all. The kid with the superhero shirt sat up straight, his eyes big. She's in trouble now, he whispered to his mom. His mom nodded, a little smile on her face. Yep, she said. The guy in the red hat leaned back, his arms crossed, smirking. Good, he muttered. The lady with glasses a few rows up turned to her husband. She can't talk her way out of this, she said. Her husband nodded. Nope. Done for. The man next to Mary, the one with the gray beard and green jacket, looked at her, his magazine still in his lap. You're tough, he said, quiet so only she heard. Mary gave him a tiny smile, just a little lift of her lips. Have to be, she said. He nodded, like he got it. The plane started to dip a little, the nose tilting down. The captain's voice crackled over the speaker again. Folks, we're starting our descent, he said. Landing soon. Buckle up. The seatbelt sign dinged on, and people clicked their belts tight. Outside, the stars faded as city lights twinkled below, getting closer and closer. Inside, the air felt different, thick with excitement, with justice. Jessica didn't move for a minute. She just stood there, her hands knotted up, her head spinning. Then the captain came out again, his gray mustache twitching. Jessica, he said, his voice low but firm. Come with me. She jumped a little, like she'd been stung. Now, she asked, her voice small. Now, he said. She swallowed hard and followed him, her sticky shoes squeaking on the floor. The plane landed smooth, the wheels bumping the ground just once before rolling to a stop. The engine slowed, the hum getting quieter. People unbuckled their belts and stood up, stretching and grabbing their bags. But nobody forgot what happened. They kept looking at Mary, then at Jessica, then back at Mary. Jessica wasn't a flight attendant anymore, not by the time they landed. The captain and Mary had talked quiet, fast, behind a little curtain up front. Nobody heard it, but they didn't need to. When Jessica came back, her face was red, her eyes wet, and she didn't have her clipboard or her tray. She grabbed her bag, a shiny blue one that matched her uniform, and slinked off the plane fast, her head hanging low. She didn't look at anyone. She didn't say bye. She just left, her shoes still sticky, her hair a mess. The crew got a talking to, a big one. Mary didn't do it loud or in front of everyone. She waited until the passengers were getting off, then called the other flight attendants over. They stood in a little huddle near the front, their faces serious. Mary's voice was low, but you could tell she meant every word. Kindness matters, she said. You treat people right, or you're out. No excuses. The crew nodded fast, their heads bobbing like toys. They didn't argue. They couldn't. Mary was the boss, the real boss, and they knew it now. One of them, a younger guy with short hair, looked down at his shoes. Sorry, ma'am, he said. Mary nodded. Fix it next time, she said. That was it, short, simple, but strong. The passengers cheered when Jessica left. Not loud, not wild, but happy. It started with the kid. He clapped his hands fast, grinning big. She's gone, he said. His mom clapped too, softer, smiling at Mary. The guy in the red hat joined in, his hands smacking together. Good riddance, he said. The lady with glasses clapped next, then her husband, then the mom with the baby. Soon, half the plane was clapping, a big wave of sound rolling through. They weren't just happy Jessica was gone, they were happy for Mary. She'd won. She'd fixed it. She'd made things right. Jessica slinked out the door, disappearing down the tunnel, and the cheers got a little louder, then faded as people grabbed their stuff. Mary didn't rush off. She stayed behind, slow and steady like always. She pulled her old bag down from the shelf by herself, no help needed, and shuffled into the aisle. People didn't ignore her now. Oh no. They smiled at her, big real smiles, not fake ones like Jessica's. The kid ran up, his superhero shirt wrinkled from the flight. You're awesome, he said, his eyes bright. Mary smiled back, warm and kind. Thanks, sweetie, she said, patting his head. His mom came over next. You made this flight better, she said. Thank you. Mary nodded. I'm glad, she said. The guy in the red hat tipped his hat, his real hat, not just a saying. You're the best, he said. Mary laughed a little, a soft sound. Just doing my job, she said. The lady with glasses walked up with her husband. We're sorry she was rude to you, the lady said. You didn't deserve that. Her husband nodded. Yeah, you're too nice for that. Mary shook their hands, her grip firm even if her fingers shook a tiny bit. It's okay now, she said. Things will get better. They smiled, Happy to hear it? The man next to Mary, the one who'd sat by her the whole time, waited last. He held his magazine, still not reading it. You're a surprise, he said, grinning. Never saw that coming. Mary winked just a little, sneaky-like. Good, she said. He laughed, loud and happy, then shook her hand too. Take care, boss, he said. She nodded. You too. Mary kept shaking hands, talking to people as they left. She promised things would change. No more rude crew, no more mean words. This airline's mine, she said to a few of them. I built it to help people, not hurt them. They believed her. You could see it in their faces, big smiles, bright eyes, nods all around. The ones who'd ignored her before? The ones who'd whispered or looked away when Jessica snapped at her. Now they couldn't stop smiling. They lined up to say hi, to say thanks. Funny how fast things change when the truth comes out. 1 minute, Mary was just an old lady with a shaky hand. The next, she was the hero, the boss, the one everyone wanted to talk to. The plane emptied out, people heading down the tunnel to the airport. Mary stayed until the end, making sure everyone got off okay. The crew watched her, quiet now, their heads down a little. They knew they'd messed up, not just Jessica, but all of them. They hadn't helped. They hadn't stopped her. Mary didn't yell at them, though. She just looked at them, her sharp eyes saying enough. Do better, she said, then turned to go. They nodded fast, like kids who'd learned a lesson. The captain came over last, his mustache twitching again. Sorry about all this, Mary, he said. Didn't know it was that bad. Mary patted his arm. Fix it, Tom, she said. That's all I ask. He nodded. Will do, he said. Mary walked off the plane, her old bag over her shoulder, her coat flapping a little. The tunnel was bright, lights shining on her gray hair. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Jessica was gone, out of a job, out of the plane, out of the picture. The crew was warned, the rules were clear, kindness matters, or you're out. The passengers were happy, cheering her win. Mary had done it, shown everyone the truth, made things right. She shuffled into the airport, slow but strong, her sharp eyes looking ahead. Things would get better now. She'd make sure of it. And everyone knew it. The story wasn't loud anymore, no more gasps, no more claps. But it was done, and it felt good. Jessica had been mean, but she didn't win. Mary did. Justice was served, simple and strong, just like Mary herself. The plane sat quiet now, empty and still, waiting for the next flight. But this one? This one was special. Because of Mary. Because of what she did. And nobody would forget it, not the kid, not the mom, not anyone. They'd tell the story later, smiling big. Funny how fast things change, isn't it? One truth, one moment, and everything's different. That's what Mary showed them. That's what she made happen. And that's the story of Mary Carter, the quiet old lady who turned the tables on everyone. She started off small, didn't she? Just an old lady with gray hair, a worn-out coat, and shaky hands. Nobody thought much of her, not Jessica, not the passengers, not even the crew. She shuffled onto that plane, slow and silent, and everyone figured she was just there. Nothing special. Nothing big. But oh, were they wrong? Mary wasn't just there. She was watching. She was waiting. And when the time was right, she showed them all who she really was, the boss, the one who built the whole airline from nothing. She flipped everything upside down, and suddenly, the ones who ignored her couldn't stop staring. Funny how that works, huh? It just goes to show you never know who's watching. You never know what they're capable of. Jessica thought she was the queen, strutting around, snapping at people, laughing with the fancy folks. She didn't think twice about Mary. She didn't care. She figured Mary was nobody, just an old lady who didn't matter. But Mary mattered a lot. She had power, big power, hidden under that hat and coat. She saw everything Jessica did, the coffee spill, the ignored mom, the mean words, and she didn't let it slide. She waited, quiet and smart, and then bam, she showed the truth. Jessica didn't see it coming. Nobody did. That's the thing about people, they can surprise you. The ones you think are small might be the biggest of all. So next time you're quick to judge someone, think twice. That person you're brushing off? The one you're rolling your eyes at or walking past? They might be holding all the cards. They might be like Mary, quiet on the outside, but strong and smart underneath. You don't know their story. You don't know what they've done or what they can do. Jessica learned that the hard way, didn't she? She thought she was big, thought she could treat people any way she wanted. But Mary showed her nope, that's not how it works. Kindness matters. Treating people right matters. And if you don't, well, you might just lose everything, like Jessica did. Her job? Gone. Her power? Poof. All because she didn't see who Mary really was. What do you think? Did Jessica get what she deserved? I mean, she was pretty mean, right? Spilling coffee on that kid and blaming him. Ignoring the mom who just wanted a blanket. Snapping at Mary like she was nothing. She acted like she was better than everyone, but she wasn't. Mary proved that. When the truth came out, Jessica couldn't talk her way out of it. She lost her job, slinked off the plane, and that was that. Justice, served up nice and simple. Some might say she had it coming. Others might feel a little bad for her. She didn't know Mary was the boss, after all. But does that matter? Shouldn't she have been nice anyway? Tell me what you think down below. I want to hear it. This story's wild, isn't it? It's got your heart racing, I bet mine too. From the start, with Mary shuffling on, to the big reveal, to Jessica walking away, it's a ride. A quiet old lady turning into the hero? A mean flight attendant getting caught? It's the kind of tale you don't forget. If it got you excited, share it with a friend. Tell them about Mary Carter, the lady who fooled everyone. Tell them how she showed that looks don't tell the whole story. Maybe they've got a story like this too, someone who surprised them, someone who turned out to be more than they seemed. Stories like that stick with you. They make you think. They make you wonder. See, Mary's story isn't just about her. It's about all of us. It's about looking closer, being kinder, not judging too fast. You might meet a Mary someday, someone quiet, someone you don't notice at first. Maybe they're at school, sitting in the back. Maybe they're on the bus, staring out the window. Maybe they're in line at the store, moving slow. You don't know who they are, not really. They could be anyone. They could be big, strong, smart, important. They could change everything, just like Mary did. So what do? You smile. You say hi. You help if they need it. Because you never know, they might be holding all the cards, waiting for the right moment to play them. Jessica didn't get that. She judged fast. She picked who she liked, the fancy guy with the shiny watch, and ignored the rest. She thought she was smart, thought she had it all figured out. But she didn't. Mary showed her up, big time. And the passengers? They learned too. They cheered for Mary, clapped for her, smiled at her. They saw what she did, how she stayed quiet, then stood tall. They won't forget it. Neither should you. It's a lesson, wrapped up in a story. A good one. A fun one. A true one. Well, maybe not true, but true in the way it makes you feel. Think about it. Who's the Mary in your life? Who's the one nobody notices, but maybe they should? Who's got a secret, a surprise, something big hiding inside? You don't know until you look. You don't know until you care. That's what Mary taught us. She didn't need to yell or fight or make a big scene. She just watched, waited, and then wham, she showed the world. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Small doesn't mean nothing. Old doesn't mean done. Mary was all those things: quiet, small, old, but she was more. So much more. And she proved it. Jessica's gone now, off the plane, out of the story. She lost her job, her power, her fake little crown. She slinked away, head down, and that's the end of her. But Mary? Mary's still here. She's the hero, the winner, the one we remember. She shook hands with the passengers, promised things would get better, and walked off strong. She didn't need to brag or shout. She just did what she did, and that was enough. That's power, real power. Not the loud kind Jessica wanted, but the quiet kind that changes things. The kind that lasts. So what's the big takeaway? Be kind. Look closer. Don't judge too fast. You never know who's watching, who's waiting, who's got something up their sleeve. Mary Carter turned the tables on everyone, and it was awesome. She showed us, me, you, all of us, that the quiet ones can be the strongest. The ones you skip over can be the ones who matter most. Next time you're out there at school, at home, anywhere, remember Mary. Think twice before you brush someone off. They might just be the one holding all the cards, ready to surprise you. What do you say? Did the story get your heart racing? Did it make you cheer for Mary, laugh at Jessica, think about stuff? If it did, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Tell them how Mary fooled everyone, how she won, how she made things right. See what they think. Did Jessica deserve it? Would they have clapped too? Stories like this are better when you talk about them, when you pass them on. And hey, I'll see you in the next one. There's more where this came from, more surprises, more heroes, more fun. Stick around, okay? You won't want to miss it.